Buffalo Soldiers originally were members of the 10th Cavalry Regiment of the United States Army, formed on September 21, 1866, at Fort Leavenworth, Kansas. This nickname was given to the colored cavalry by Native American tribes who fought in the Indian Wars. The term eventually became synonymous with all of the African American regiments formed in 1866. 9th Cavalry Regiment, 10th Cavalry Regiment, 24th Infantry Regiment, 25th Infantry Regiment, 2nd 38th Infantry Regiment. Although several African American regiments were raised during the Civil War as part of the Union Army, the Buffalo Soldiers were established by Congress as the first peacetime all-black regiments in the regular U.S. Army. On September 6, 2005, Mark Matthews, the oldest surviving Buffalo Soldier, died at the age of 111. Etymology. Sources disagree on how the nickname Buffalo Soldiers began. According to the Buffalo Soldiers National Museum, the name originated with the Cheyenne. However, writer Walter Hill attributed the origin of the name to the Comanche, but also the Apache used the same term, a claim supported by other sources. Another possible source could be from the Plains Indians, who gave them that name because of the bison coats they wore in winter. The term Buffalo Soldiers became a generic term for all black soldiers. Service. During the Civil War, the U.S. government formed regiments known as the United States Colored Troops, composed of black soldiers and Native Americans. Through the peacetime formation years, 1865 to 1870, the black infantry and cavalry regiments were composed of black enlisted soldiers commanded by white commissioned officers and black non-commissioned officers. These included the first commander of the 10th Cavalry, Benjamin Griot, the first commander of the 9th Cavalry, Edward Hatch, Medal of Honor recipient Louis H. Carpenter, and Nicholas M. Nolan. The first black commissioned officer to lead the Buffalo Soldiers was Henry O. Flipper in 1877. From 1870 to 1898, the total strength of the U.S. Army totaled 25,000 service members, with black soldiers maintaining their 10% representation. History. Indian Wars. From 1867 to the early 1890s, these regiments served at a variety of posts in the southwestern United States and the Great Plains regions. 13 enlisted men and 6 officers from these 4 regiments earned the Medal of Honor during the Indian Wars. In total, 23 Buffalo Soldiers received the Medal of Honor during the Indian Wars. Johnson County War. A lesser-known action was the 9th Cavalry's participation in the fabled Johnson County War, an 1892 land war in Johnson County, Wyoming, between small farmers and large, wealthy ranchers. It culminated in a lengthy shootout between local farmers, a band of hired killers, and a sheriff's posse. The 6th Cavalry was ordered in by President Benjamin Harrison to quell the violence and capture the band of hired killers. Soon afterwards, however, the 9th Cavalry was specifically called on to replace the 6th. 1898 to 1918. After most of the Indian Wars ended in the 1890s, the regiments continued to serve and participated in the 1898 Spanish-American War in Cuba, where 5 more Medals of Honor were earned. The Buffalo Soldiers regiments also took part in the Philippine-American War from 1899 to 1903 and the 1916 Mexican Expedition. In 1918, the 10th Cavalry fought at the Battle of Ambos Nogales during the First World War, where they assisted in forcing the surrender of the Federal Mexican and Mexican militia forces. Buffalo Soldiers fought in the last engagement of the Indian Wars, the small Battle of Bear Valley in southern Arizona, which occurred in 1918 between U.S. Cavalry and Yaqui natives. Park Rangers. U.S. Army regiments had been serving in these national parks since 1891, but until 1899, the soldiers serving were white. Beginning in 1899, and continuing in 1903 and 1904, African American regiments served during the summer. In the second and third oldest national parks in the United States, Sequoia and Yosemite. Because these soldiers served before the National Park Service was created, 1916, they were park rangers before the term was coined. A lasting legacy of the soldiers as park rangers is the ranger hat, popularly known as the Smoky Bear hat. It was officially adopted by the Army in 1911 and called a Montana Peak. West Point. On March 23, 1907, the United States Military Academy Detachment of Cavalry was changed to a colored unit. This had been a long time coming. It had been proposed in 1897 at the Cavalry and Light Artillery School at Fort Riley, Kansas, that West Point cadets learned their riding skills from the black non-commissioned officers who were considered the best. The 100-man detachment from the 9th and 10th Cavalry served to teach future officers at West Point riding instruction, mounted drill, and tactics until 1947. Prejudice. The Buffalo Soldiers were often confronted with racial prejudice from other members of the U.S. Army. Civilians in the areas where the soldiers were stationed occasionally reacted to them with violence. Buffalo Soldiers were attacked during racial disturbances in Rio Grande City, Texas, in 1899, Brownsville, Texas, in 1906, and Houston, Texas, in 1917. During the Indian Wars from 1866 to 1891, 416 soldiers were awarded the Medal of Honor. Although the Buffalo Soldiers comprised 12% of the U.S. Army infantry force and 20% of the cavalry force in this era, Buffalo Soldiers were awarded less than 4% of all Medals of Honor awarded. Mexico border and World War I. The outbreak of the Mexican Revolution in 1910 against the longtime rule of President Porfirio Diaz initiated a decade-long period of high-intensity military conflict along the U.S. Mexico border as different factions in Mexico fought for power. As the various factions in Mexico vied for power, the U.S. Army, including the Buffalo Soldier units, was dispatched to the border to maintain security. The Buffalo Soldiers played a key role in U.S. Mexico relations as the maelstrom that followed the ousting of Diaz and the assassination of his successor Francisco Madero intensified. The Buffalo Soldiers did not participate with the American Expeditionary Forces (AEF) during World War I, but experienced non-commissioned officers were provided to other segregated black units for combat service, such as the 317th Engineer Battalion. The soldiers of the 92nd and the 93rd Infantry Divisions were the first Americans to fight in France. The 4 regiments of the 93rd fought under French command for the duration of the war. World War II. The 92nd Infantry Division, the Buffalo Division, served in combat during the Italian campaign. The 93rd Infantry Division, including the 25th Infantry Regiment, served in the Pacific Theater. Separately, independent black artillery, tank, and tank destroyer battalions, as well as quartermaster and support battalions served in World War II. Despite some official resistance and administrative barriers, black airmen were trained and played a part in the air war in Europe, gaining a reputation for skill and bravery. Korean War and integration. In 1948, President Harry Truman signed Executive Order 9981, which desegregated the military and marked the first federal piece of legislation that went against the societal norms implemented through Jim Crow laws. The 24th Infantry Regiment saw combat during the Korean War and was the last segregated regiment to engage in combat. On December 12, 1951, the last Buffalo Soldier units, the 27th Cavalry and the 28th Horse Cavalry, were disbanded. Controversy. In the last decade, the employment of the Buffalo Soldiers by the United States Army in the Indian Wars has led some to call for the critical reappraisal of the African American regiments. In the opinion of some, the Buffalo Soldiers were used as mere shock troops or accessories to the forceful expansionist goals of the U.S. government at the expense of the Native Americans and other minorities. However, there is little evidence to support these opinions. In fact, many Buffalo Soldiers, such as Lieutenant Henry Flipper, willingly pursued military careers. Evidence from court-martial documents also suggests that the Buffalo Soldiers willingly participated in various actions and were able to dissent if they so wished.
Learn Black History, teach Black History. Visit us at BlackFacts.com.